Hello everybody, welcome to the first video on RustHOUNDS on xRC 101. Today we'll be talking about just the RustHOUNDS specific settings that you should change to get a competitive advantage. So first off is field-centric mechanical control. I have that off. I have active braking on. I have tank control off. I have invert strafing when camera rotates on, invert movement when camera rotates on, and driver station camera follows robot on. Moving on to my binds, I have everything default from here down, and then a D-pad left and right, I have binded to my left and right bumpers. So left on my left bumper is up on my end effector, and right bumper is down on my end effector. And then moving on to the set points, which are D-pad up and down, I have these binded to my left and right joystick press in. So left on my joystick is coral intake position, and then right on my joystick is the horizontal end effector position. So I have ABXY all default because I have back buttons. So if you don't have a back button, you can change your LG so that up on the right joystick is deploying your LG, and right and down on your right joystick is to outtake your LG. So that's something that Kaiju does, but I don't because I have back buttons, but he doesn't. And then for climb, I just recommend keeping that default. Slow turn L, I have that as options, or start for my Xbox players. The reason I have that binded to that is so that that's just for my net algae strategy. But we don't really use that a lot anymore, so that's not totally beneficial. And then slow turn R, there's no reason to have both of these binded, so I have that just on joystick 3. And then left and right trigger are both axis 3. But these are defaulted to +1 and -1 here. I changed those so that this is -1 and +1 now. And then the same thing on this side. This is normally so that it's -1 and then +1. I changed it so that it's +1 and then -1. And then your stop timer is axis 7, your start timer is axis 6, your switch camera is axis 6, and then your rotate camera is axis 7, and your restart position is also axis 6. So your restart position and start timer are both axis 6, and then which is your right on the D-pad, and then switch camera is left on the D-pad. So that's configured by -1, and then these are on normal +1. And then for the stop timer and rotate camera, the stop timer is up on my D-pad, and rotate camera is down on my D-pad. So that's my binds for RustHOUNDS. The reason my RustHOUNDS binds are the way that they are is because it allows me to do everything with keeping all my fingers on my joysticks. So moving on to the single player customization, I have these both on faster, so the physics engine and coral physics both on faster, because it makes my frames much smoother during the game. And also it feels like the robot moves a whole lot faster when I do this. And also another upside to it is that you get a whole lot more consistently algae bounce outs of processor when you do have faster physics on. So another setting that I turn on when I'm doing my single player runs is you go to restart and you press option 2. There are two benefits to this. The first benefit is when you're putting an algae in the processor at the end of the match and you're trying to climb quickly. So let's say you put an algae and you're trying to go climb quickly. You don't want to have to go over to that far cage and then climb and then stop the game. You want to be able to get this close cage. So the other advantage to having option 2 on is so that when you corral your algae to the other side, it doesn't go all the way to the other side. See, these cages are keeping it from going over there. So if I say I'm throwing my algae over to here, it keeps it in from. So if I'm like pushing over all my lollipops over, it keeps all the algae into my side instead of letting it into the other one. But if you are on option 1, then all the cages are shallow except for yours, and then when you put an algae in the processor, you have to go all the way to the other side to be able to climb fast enough, which is just an extra second wasted that you didn't have to before. See, that algae actually got into the net that time when it didn't on option 2. And then also when you're corralling algae to the other side, it obviously won't do anything to keep it on your side. It'll all go on the other side. So that's just another reason why I play on option 2. And those are my settings for single player. I do recommend that you use those single player settings because obviously you get more algae bounce outs and you're able to climb closer and whatnot. And then now we'll talk about why my binds are the way that they are and how you can customize yours to see how they fit you better. So the reason my binds are the way that they are and how a lot of most of the better players' binds are very similar is because all your joysticks, you can keep your thumbs on your joysticks whatever you're doing. So you can keep moving your joysticks with whatever command you're doing, whether that's coral, whether that's algae, and whether that's climbing. That's why I have my binds the way that they are, is so that I can have my thumbs on the joysticks at all times while I'm playing the game. So whatever I'm doing, I'm always able to move around the field based on what happens during the game. So I highly recommend that you have binds that let you do that, and you can customize your binds to whatever you want, but just make sure that that's a thing. And then if you don't have a back button, again, as I said earlier, you can do the thing where if you press up on the joystick, it deploys your algae, and if you press down on the joystick, it outtakes your algae, which is what Kaiju has because he does not have a back button. So that's something to consider. But other than that, that's going to wrap up the first xRC 101 video on the RustHOUNDS robot. And you're welcome to come back to the series after we post some more videos. And yeah, that'll wrap it up for this one. We'll see you in the next video.